Welcome to another Salty Chillers Entertainment podcast, and today we'll be talking about hype. Can hype ruin or improve an experience? And it can be anything from personal things we look forward to in life, or anything in video games or movies, and just in hype as in general. And as always, Hero Darkness is here,
Salt
Which
logic.
numbers? And which numbers?
and we are joined by
Valentine.
Valentine's. Well, Rich, take first point, since this was kind of his idea of a topic of discussion. Kind of want to hear his thoughts first off on the whole hype, and kind of why he wanted this discussion to happen.
Well, when you think of hype, you think of your anticipation of a game when it comes out, your willingness of your excitement level. But also know when a game comes out, the game could, in general, it could actually be just a whole bad game when it first comes out. Thus, you're looking for a game, and it may not all be there. And all in all. So if we take a look at that, there's been some games that we released that we've been looking forward to, but it hasn't been all that greatest. I know that one of the games that got overhyped, that got exaggerated about was No Man's Skies. It was claimed that it was going to be a good game, you get the game and all that, and what we thought it could become, it wasn't. It just wasn't there. It wasn't delivering what we thought it should be delivering. But if we want to look at the game and what it should have been, it wasn't there.
Yeah, because I remember that game coming out and everyone being excited and like, this is going to be a really big game. To me, it almost felt like it was going to be equivalent to Minecraft, but in space.
Little did we know. It was
But
all
when you-
a ruse.
it was misleading. But was that because of us molding the developers' ideas, or was it that or was it just a bad game altogether?
Well, after the game was released, a lot of the fans will agree that the game was bad. I remember, not even a month after the game was released, there's people going on to Steam and PlayStation and that, and requesting to get refunded for the game, because it's like, we didn't get everything that we asked for in this game. The developers told us this, and we can't even do that. I remember me and Rich getting on, and coming to find out, we couldn't even multiplayer together.
And that's something they promised. So with that game and that hype, the hype was altogether the game was really misleading. I got talking to one of my friends on that about a different game, and all the fans looking forward to this game. And to date, that game and that game series is recommended as one of the worst games in that game series. They don't know was it the hype or was it just the game itself, and my friend said it's just the game itself. The game itself was bad. But again, I think comes down to the developers maybe bad marketing.
Well, there's
They
sometimes,
marketed it poorly.
yeah, there's the pro marketing, and we get deceived, and so I think that's what happened with it. And I think if you're gonna follow a game, pay attention to what the developers are releasing to help you be informed about what's in the game, and pay attention to whenever they have the interviews, because I think that may help you avoid putting down $50-$60 into a game and not wasting.
Especially when that's about the, minimum cost for it, and that's not counting, any bundles or things like that that possibly comes with it, where then you're probably spending 80, 100, 120 or even more on something, and then for it to be, a complete, crap.
I felt the same way about the Friday the 13th game. I'm a horror fan. I love horror movies. So I was expecting the game to be more like a movie, kind of. Like, maybe you're Jason and you're playing through a storyline, or maybe you're a camp counselor and you're playing through a storyline. And I was really disappointed to find out that it was basically like a chaser, like a first person shooter almost. Like, there was no story. It's just like, people chasing after each other. And I played it. I always rent my video games before I actually like buy them. And I just can have fun with it because I like story. I like, I don't know. The hype was there. Like, everybody was like, oh, Friday the 13th video game. And I got it, and it just seemed subpar to me.
So the game just didn't deliver to what you were expecting. Was it just a bad game in general, or was the game exaggerated to what it should have been?
I think it was exaggerated. I think that the game itself was good for people who enjoy that platform, but I don't enjoy that platform, so I didn't enjoy it as much. I thought it was going to be more like Silent Hill, or like even Resident Evil, but it wasn't. It was just like a multiplayer chasing everybody around game, and I was like, aw. Because I've been waiting for something like close to like Silent Hill-ish to come out.
Yeah, that would put a, trust in that company, that studio, to come in and like, oh yeah, let me buy the
Especially if
game.
it's a big name company too.
Yeah, because I remember talking with with Rich and one of our other friends, random, about this the other day with Hello Games. We were all stating, it's like, we can almost guarantee that if Hello Games was to come up with another title, doesn't matter what they did to fix it or anything, a lot of people aren't going to trust Hello Games anymore because of what they did with No Man's Skies.
Right.
And I'm sure you feel kind of similar with that studio. It's like, here it is, Friday the 13th, one of the best horror films of that time era. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin Bacon was in that film, and that launched his film career.
Oh yeah. And it was a great movie, and I thought it was going to be a great game. Like, maybe you start off as camp counselor and you're supposed to show up, and then people start dying, I thought it was more like you're gonna have to find out the mystery rather than just being plopped in the middle of a game and Jason's after you run. I thought there's gonna be a little more story.
You expecting one thing, but instead you're playing as one of the, I guess it's also characters in the movie, where you then have to flee and run.
Right. But I'm glad I rented it, because I spent probably about $10 doing a weekly rent on that game and trying it out and deciding, ooh, this isn't for me, and returning it. Same thing with The Evil Within.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Like, for me, like, if, like, for instance, take, Monster Hunter, for instance. My initial reaction was, I'm probably not going to get it. I don't see, like, it's going to be something I'm going to be getting into. Well, just from the course from when it came out to when I got it, I, was kind of watching videos, listening to Rich here play it and talking about it and things like that. I was like, you know what? Alright, yeah, I'll give it a try. And then, if I don't like it, well, I can always, pretty much return it. Well, it turns out, instead of, being one of those games where I thought I wasn't going to enjoy it just because, just how it was, because there's some games like this that I don't particularly enjoy, I actually fell in love with the game. And it's probably one of my few most played games in terms of hours put in. But it's like...
But
Well,
if you, but it's also a game inside a series, and they know this developed people getting this game knew what they were getting into if it lived up to its previous expectations from other games.
But you know what was funny is that with Monster Hunter World, I think James, like, the boys in my house had played the beta version, but I wasn't really all
Yeah,
that
I didn't even
impressed
play
with
that.
it. I wasn't really impressed with it, and then Salt, you're telling me over and over about how like good this game is and sending me screenshots, and so without even researching it at all, I like went and bought it. Like as soon as I
You
had
didn't
like
rent the game.
$65.
You just straight out bought the game.
Yeah, no, I bought Monster Hunter World without even renting it, and that was a first for me, and it's one of my favorite games of all time now because it challenges me and it actually makes me makes me afraid.
Well, I didn't know how
Yeah.
much hype there was going for this game. It's the thing. I don't know how big the hype train was.
It was
I know there was a hype.
Yeah, like,
I'm-
I think there's around 6 million players.
I know it was pretty hype's not the word I'm looking for. Anticipated, because a lot of my friends that kept saying, "Oh, you need to get Monster Hunter," and things like that, and they were telling me how much they enjoy and things like that. And I think that's part of another part of the reason why I decided to get it and give it a try. Is because I had a lot of my friends and stuff like that telling me, I should get it and play it. And that's probably one of the first times I'm not actually disappointed in someone offering for me to get something.
Yeah, it's hard to impress you. That's why you were like, ah! And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go buy this now.
Salt like the game. He's not too salty about it. We better get the game.
Right?
No, not
like,
really. It's
Valentine
why I
has to go
thoroughly
out on her
enjoy it.
payday and get the game right now.
Let's see, I never said that.
Well, you weren't as salty in this game as you have been in other games. I'm looking at you, Dissidia.
No, I
Sometimes
mean,
you
I
get salty
thoroughly
with that.
enjoy this game. Okay,
But
I
yeah,
get
I
salty
didn't
about a lot
even-
of things.
Yeah, but
I
in this
didn't,
game you don't get
I
as
didn't
salty.
even see the hype about it.
Oh, no, not nearly as much.
And I think the
If
hype is
any.
built more when you are anticipating the game. I remember back in 2015, 2014, when Star Wars Battlefront that EA was making was being developed and we're hearing news about it. Everyone's like, we get another game. We want Clone Wars. We want this. We want this. We want Galactic Conquest. We want, to
They
have
wanted
the
so much
Battlefront
into
2
the
2005 HD remake is what the fans were like dreaming and hoping for, because they're all like, you get to live your Star Wars fantasy, and we're like, sweet, this is gonna be legit. Come year of the release, 2015, E3, and E3, for those who don't follow gaming, is almost a week-long conference where the big studios, EA, Sony, Microsoft, they all get together and they showcase what to anticipate for the next physical year, starting in July to the following June, of what to expect. And it's also a huge thing for investors. And so here it is, it's EA's time to be out on the floor, and they showcase one of their big game modes, and everyone's like, this is going to be pretty awesome. And then coming to find out, as they're explaining and talking, sorry, we're only sticking in one Star Wars time era. We're only getting 4 maps. Some people were still hyped, they didn't care, they're like, this is it, this is going to be pretty legit. And there's other people who were like, I'm not sure. And of course, a lot of the YouTubers who were following the Star Wars, they were on the hype train through and through. It didn't matter what they could say, they were defending the game, because like, this is going to be one of the best Star Wars games, Battlefront games out there. I mean, we haven't had a game in so long, in 10 years. This is going to be awesome. Game's released, we see the content, and we're disappointed. We're like, really? And not to mention, you had to spend an additional $50 to $60 on a season pass for 4 different DLC expansions.
Mhm.
And so it's very easy that the hype killed the game quick. Now let's fast forward to 2017. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is announced. We see gameplays. We're excited. We get the Clone Wars. We get the new movie era. Yes, this is going to be awesome. We get the story campaign. Yes. Games released. You're excited because you get to play as the Imperial. You're not even 4 missions into the campaign. And
Warning,
you're
spoiler.
no longer, and this is very spoilers for those who haven't played the campaign, you're no longer with the Empire. And that was a marketing
Oh
issue.
yeah.
They marketed where you play as the Imperial, you play and see the rise of the First Order. Oh no, I'm sorry, you don't, not in the least. You don't see the rise of the First Order.
And that was something I was actually looking for.
And to me, I
I
love
was hoping
seeing
to
how
see
things
that.
develop like that. And so in that
Oh,
moment,
yeah.
the hype ruined the game experience. Yes, I still play it to this day because I spent, the money on it, but it feels lackluster. I feel like, yeah, it's
Would you
fun.
say that you're kind of like disappointed in your purchase? Like maybe, like, would you still have gotten the game had you known what you were going to be disappointed about?
I would have been a little more hesitant and not as gun-ho on buying it. I would have thought it through and think, is it really worth it?
To with the money, because I have the game also. I haven't
Because,
touched it as much as I thought I would.
and one thing that they
But
did that helped
coming
build in
in,
the
there's
hype.
other games that came out during the time frame that I've been focusing on.
Yeah, and one thing that helped build up the hype for it was there's no season pass to buy for this game, and everyone just lost it. They're like, no season pass? This is pretty awesome, pretty dope. I mean, that just builds into the hype. The fact that I don't have to put down $60 to $80 depending on the edition of the game that I get, and I don't have to put any more in, that's pretty legit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they should have added, something like that just to kind of like make the game better? Or did you
Well,
like
so
that?
planning on. Go ahead.
No, no, no,
Putting
no.
in.
I was just asking you
Well,
a question.
they're planning on doing free DLCs and adding more content as the game's lifespan. So instead of paid DLC, it's free DLC to keep
But
the gaming community alive.
The problem that I face, so their first DLC, so to speak, they're doing it what they call seasons, and Last Jedi came out this past December, and it's like, sweet, that means I get all the stuff from the Last Jedi. No, we only get one new planet and one new space map. That's it.
Because I can't help but wonder, like, maybe if they. I understand it's a free DLC and everything like that, but what if, like, they had charged people for a season pass? Do you think they could have made more maps and made it more worth it? Like, maybe it's free, so they didn't put as much work into it?
I still think they put
That
in
sounds
the
plausible.
One reason why they didn't go into the DLC was it split the community so much in the first Battlefront game.
I wasn't much into Battlefront as much, so I don't really know a whole lot about this game, but it sounds like if they were to have people paying for like season passes, maybe they would have made the content a little more quality.
I mean, it's too early to say, but one thing I can give them credit, they did give Captain Phasma, and they did put Finn in there without charging anyone any extra money. But the game as it is now live isn't living up to what the fans have hoped for and thought that we would be getting, because a lot of the fans were like, sweet, I get to play as the Imperials, I get to kill the rebel scums. and I'm not getting any of that. I only get to do it for a short amount of time. And even a YouTuber who has his channel is exclusive to Star Wars Battlefront content. He even admitted in one of his recent videos that he hasn't touched the game in a while because he has to go and do something else. And so then a patch was released today on the 20th of February to help give something. They introduce a new game mode, and I'm like, sweet, excited, because like, hey, they're bringing back one of my favorite type of game modes. They call it cargo, which is a capture the flag type game mode. I'm like, sweet, this is gonna be awesome. I get to run around with the jump pack with the rocket launcher and shoot people. This is gonna be pretty awesome. Maybe I expected too much, but I got it. I enjoy the game mode, but I was dissatisfied because I only have one map to play on. I played 3 games. I played 2 games because normally when you play a map, you play one on each side. So you either play as in Galactic Assault game mode, you are the attacker, then you're the defender. In the Starfighter game mode, you attack and defend. The other game modes you only play on as one side, just because they're more faster paced, and so you don't have to worry about going back and forth playing as one side. But so I played my 2 matches. So I played as the Imperial and I played as the Rebels. I'm like, all right, what else they got? What else is in this map rotation? And I'm back on the same map. I'm like, really? Really?
Oh no.
I mean, I get you guys are saying this is limited, but come on, this is like my
That's
game mode.
excessively limited.
That was like my game mode that I love to play, and my sister loved to play that game mode because, I mean, it's capture the flag. Who doesn't love a good capture the flag match?
Well, that depends on what game it is.
Well, yes, it does depend on the game, but
Yeah.
all said and done, I love myself a good capture the flag match because at the end of the day, at the end of the timer, I knew if I didn't push hard enough to capture the flag, or I was too busy doing something else and playing on defense, the other team just straight out outplayed us. And that, I mean, to me, it's capture the flag. It's one of the classic, to me, game modes that actually got me into gaming, because I would watch my older brother play this video game on the computer called Tribes. And the way Tribes is, it was a strictly online first-person, third-person shooter game.
Yeah.
And its main game mode was capture the flag.
And that game mode is a lot of fun.
Like, the matches,
Especially when you watch people play it, it was fun to watch.
because you had to think, okay, I'm going into this class, that means this is how I play. No, I want to be a heavier class, okay, so that means I'm going to be more on the defense or help pushing up the thing, and that.
Okay, I want to use this weapon.
Or I want to come in on a
use this
vehicle,
correctly?
okay, so I'm trying to do this type of thing, and so you had to have your strategy, and so like, get to capture the flag. Let me figure out what weapons I want to use, what vehicle, if that was even a thing, I want to use. And here I am in the cargo game mode, and it's one map. And it's like, really? I was excited to spend most of my day in that game mode, but I'm better off playing the base game.
Until they release more maps for the game mode.
If they release
Which
more
is
maps to
sad.
game mode, because it's a very limited time game mode.
It's not going to be staying around, which is even more sad.
Honestly, I don't
that
like
version.
limited time game modes, because, like, it's like, yeah, they're maybe like really, really fun, but it sucks that you can only play them when they're around. And even then, sometimes you may not even have time for that sometimes, when they do come out.
Yeah, like, depending on what's going on, and that, it doesn't work. Now, other games, where they try to create a live environment, I know Destiny's known for doing this. When they do their limited time events, okay, that makes sense. I mean, over Valentine's and that, it was the Crimson Days, or the Crimson event. And so it was Destiny's way of saying, Happy Valentine's, everyone.
Yeah, essentially.
But
And there is a specific 2v2 playlist.
and Destiny did the same thing over December, over Christmas and New Year's. They had, I think it was called the Dawning or something. Yeah, the Dawning. That's right. That's what
which
it's
Yeah.
happens about every year.
as their way of saying, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year to everybody.
They even in
Mm.
Destiny
And
1, they did stuff for even Halloween.
yeah, but all in all, like excitement for the game or my hype for the game mode is like this is gonna be pretty fun because I made sure I had my character, my jetpack character, leveled up where he had the stuff where I could be a force to be reckoned with in the match. And test my skill out in the different scenarios, different map settings, only to find out maybe I need to go back in and someone can correct me below, but only for me to be limited to one map makes me not want to keep going back into that game mode because like once I know that map it's no longer going to be fun.
There's nothing new to explore because it's the same old map. And it's the first map, and it's the only map you have.
Yeah.
I like
And if you wanna-
exploring.
Okay, so it's fun. So let's say there's a sequel coming out to your game that you played, but they didn't add anything new content. It's just another new story, no new content, nothing really exciting. Thus, the hype to that game is expecting some more stuff, something new, something different, but it wasn't. Could that be a possibility?
Well, that's one thing that a lot of people talk about with games, with the sequels. They just always feel like it's just everything's just reskinned and they're just recycled, and so it's not as good. Other times, that's not the case. Sometimes the sequel just stuns you, and you're just like, "Wow, that just happened." I think the Halo trilogy, when Bungie was in charge, is a good example of that.
Oh yeah, because 1, 2, and 3 were all really good games. And then, when you kind of got to Reach, in my opinion, not bashing on the game or anything, I think that's kind of where it went downhill. Now, I actually I enjoyed the game. I played a hell of a lot of it. I think I got within the last final 6 ranks that, you could get to, and I think that's about where I quit. But it just got to the point where I just wasn't having really much fun with it anymore. My favorite game type, SWAT, wasn't fun. It wasn't a game of, oh, who can get the first shot. It was more of a game of, oh, hey, we traded. Again. Whoa. And that wasn't very fun at all. But I mean, they had game types like Invasion, kind of a bigger maps like that I thoroughly enjoyed because, it kept you, on your toes. You had to constantly be going. And it was fun. Vehicles, things like that, especially with the big team battles, I liked that. And then, actually, for a while, I started playing, Action Sack, which was, kind of made game types, not like the traditional. There were sprockets where you had, Spartan Laser and Rocket Launcher. No, it wasn't Spartan Laser. I forgot what it was. Anyway, it was a bunch of chaos, and that made the game a little more interesting and fun. But, you kind of get into, Halo 4 and then Halo 5, which I've never played because, Xbox only. I've never played that, but from watching it, kind of reminded me of Halo, or not Halo, Call of Duty in a sense, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't like it.
I've ridden that
It's-
train
it's-
before. I know what to expect from a Call of Duty-ish type game, especially where
It's
you
like when you
played Call
guys,
of Duty.
Halo was never a game type where you could aim down sights. When they started that with Halo 5, that honestly, in my opinion, kind of turned me off of it. It's like, no, I don't care anymore. It's like a game like that shouldn't be thrown into with that ability. It was all like, hip fire and things like that, unless it was a sniper, where you could pretty much, anything that had like a scope. Like for some reason, the pistol had a scope, and I never understood that in the early Halo games, but it was what it was.
It acts like a mini sniper rifle.
It was kind of stupid, actually. Oh, it had explosive rounds for pistol, which is really weird. Never understood that either.
I just think the really great designed games with lots of maps and stuff, they stand the test of time. Like, you can always go back and be like, oh man, like that game was like really awesome, and you play it over and over and over again, and then $65 doesn't seem like that much for something you're getting so much enjoyment out of. And then there are other games that are just like, you just kind of look at it and you go, what did you spend your money on again? Like, why is this like so popular? And then you like get the people who are totally about those games, and like you can't tell them wrong, you know?
Because they think
Like
they know
they'll
everything.
defend it to the death.
And they have some games that's been out for years and years and years, and they haven't added any new maps. But just due to the community, it just stays alive.
A good example of this is Alice Madness Returns. It's my favorite game of all time. I can always go back and play that and have a good time. It's not online. There's not like multiplayer like facets to it. It's not like that. It's just like a really good story. And there's a whole community of people who like back Alice Madness Returns, and they're just like, whoa, this is the most amazing game ever, you know? But like, it doesn't have all that fancy stuff. It just has a really good story and creepy graphics. I love it.
I something I'm not curious about. I probably should have done some research about it, but we're talking about this stuff. I'm one of those hype's different for more online multiplayer games than offline multiplayer than just offline games. So now most games we're talking about are more mainly online multiplayer games, which can then become a quick letdown due to the community and the online experience you get to the offline
Yeah.
experience. There's still some very bad offline games.
Oh yeah.
There are. Yeah, there definitely are. But just think about like my experience. I haven't been on a like I've been more on a mic this past month than I have in 8 years. And so usually when I went to go to play a game, like I did not want that multiplayer aspect to it. I wanted to be like on my own, playing the story and like deciding for myself. But like online player games, I've noticed, are really fun too, and I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and I really like knowing what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, and I say one thing with like kind of like the multiplayer experience as a whole. It really just depends on the group of people you play with.
Right.
Like in my opinion, playing with Rich and Hero, like it doesn't matter what game we're playing. Because they're multiplayer. It's always a fun experience just because we always like to goof around, or it's just half the things we do.
It's like early today.
Yeah, I was actually about to get to like with this you can be able to change what you're like for instance, if you was to put down a healing booster, you can change what's said automatically, and we got to the point where we just kind of changed that for a lot of things and just initial comments. That was probably one of the funniest things that we did, and it kind of just changes up how you play. It kind of gives your character more personality.
It was really humorous. We spent we were fighting one of the final boss,
Elder Dragon.
one of the final Elder Dragons you face in this game, and we spent more time laughing at what we had posted than the actual fight.
Actually fighting the boss itself.
It
Can we
was
catch it?
hilarious because we're pulling quotes from Dragon Ball Z Abridged or Sword Art Online Abridged. It was hilarious. I mean, Salt's here is like, it's a Pokemon. Can I keep it? And then I'm like, every time I lay down my health booster in the game, I'm like, hey, power level alchemy here. From Sword Art Online, where a bridge where Asuna comes up onto Kirito, and she's like, "What you doing? I'm power level my alchemy."
I think Salt, you've been trying to get me to play online for a long time. Like I remember back when I used to live with my parents, and I was
What?
like, okay, Salt,
What?
I got
Have?
Destiny.
I did? Wait.
Yes, you made me get Destiny like
I
2 years ago or something like
I
that,
I,
and so I
I
tried it.
really do not remember that.
Well, you
I really
did,
do not remember
and
that at all.
no, you did, because I said I was looking for a new game, and you were like,
Wow.
you should get Destiny. Destiny is really fun. Destiny is awesome. And I was like, okay, I'll get Destiny. I played it once for like an hour, and I was like, nope, 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 nope. But this one, like, I understand why the appeal now. Like, it's funny. Like, I don't think I've laughed as hard as when, like, somebody was in front of us and we had both the double blades and we're, like, hacking at this monster and he's like, get me away! Like, you guys are both hitting me! It was great.
It's the small things that can make things more enjoyable. Now we're kind of somewhat staying on topic in terms of, can hype ruin something? Because we completely gotten off track on that one. I think one game that can be used for an example in terms of can hype ruin it, in my opinion, was Destiny 2. I'm not saying that the game is bad, but I'm just saying it was overhyped by a long shot. So many people were expecting it to, follow up with Destiny 1, where it had quite a bit of content. And then when you got Destiny 2 and it wasn't, a whole lot of content, like pretty much like the vanilla days of Destiny 1, people were disappointed because there wasn't a lot to do. And I think another thing that a lot of people didn't like was it was centered more around for casual gamers, people that would maybe play for probably a few hours or maybe an hour a day, or people that don't play a lot in a week just because of everything else. I think that's another thing that probably turned a lot of people off that game, because it was made for casuals and a lot of things just handed to you. It defeated the purpose of what Destiny 1 felt like, and for the most part I can agree with that. Year 1 for Destiny, I thought was probably one of, not saying it was the best, but I'm saying it was probably one of those ones I thoroughly enjoyed. You had to grind for the exotics. It wasn't handed to you. The RNG for it, it wasn't the best, but at the same time, it wasn't the worst. If you wanted to upgrade something, you actually had to go out and grind the materials, which is another thing what I specifically like about this game, is it's not handed to you. If you want something, you have to go out and earn it. You have to go collect the things you need to get what you want, and it's not handed to you. That's one thing that I like about this. Kind of as time when Destiny got on, more things was somewhat handed to you, which became a lot easier. I didn't care much for that, but again, what could you do? But and another thing I want to say that can kill a thing is when developers and people like that will put a trailer out and release dates 3, 4, 5 months ahead before the game's actually released. Here's what I want to say, like, they you're able to pre-order 5 or so months in advance. Well, and at that point, it kind of gives the developers, okay, hey, so many people are pre-ordering and things like that, we don't have to finish it. That can kill a game right there. Giving unfinished content, unfinished game, and things like that, well, you kind of just killed it right there. And then when people get upset when there's not a lot, and, they pretty much, sell you what would probably have been in the game as DLC and things like that, well, that will, piss a lot of people off. And I don't blame them on that. Because, overhyping isn't necessarily bad, but it can hurt horribly.
Well, I think also along with that, they are more focused on, now we have a deadline, now let's get the deadline, and they're rushing to the deadline. And so, yeah, you have that pre-order, and then you also have that deadline, and so they both hurt each other. And that, not to say that we're not here to say don't pre-order or do pre-order. We're saying be mindful when you pre-order of the game. And be mindful of where you're pre-ordering from. Some people will say don't pre-order, wait until the game's out and do what Valentine does and rent the game and decide, yes, it's going to be worth my $60 to purchase or more for this type of game. Or no, it was fun, I'll come back maybe in a year or so and see if it's worth picking up now.
I think that that helps from any like purchases where you're like, because when you're on your own and like it's easy when you're like, say like when I was in college, uh, many moons ago, picking up a video game was, like if I didn't like it, like it was okay. Like I still worked and I was still able to play the game. Now that I'm living on my own, like that's a bill. Like that's a water bill or an electric bill. And so I would I would not like to waste my money on something that is overhyped. But I'm
and
a
not
lot more
fun.
responsible now. Yeah, and not fun. I'm a lot more responsible now and I can see that rather than when I was 20, 21 years old and just buying up games when I could.
Now, can we say the same thing, for those who may not always care about the video games, but what about your movies or an experience that you're looking forward to in life? Can you make it to the point where once you're there, it's no longer what you thought it was to be? Let's just use an example. A lot of people like going to Disney, whether it's Disney World or Disneyland. Disney's their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or it doesn't have to be Disney. I mean, what if it's going to an amusement park and it's like the amusement park that you've always wanted to go to and you're finally there? Can your own hype ruin that? Where you're counting down the days or counting down the hours of when you're gonna go and do it, and now here's the big day. Here it is. Here I am at the amusement park of my choosing, and it was an okay day. Did my own hype, my own anticipation ruined it? Or was just the amusement park not as good as what I thought it was?
You put your expectations too high, and I say that that can ruin it. Because if you expect too much and it's not what you said it, then you will be, pretty disappointed.
I think that a lot of that, especially hype around like, I don't know about amusement parks, but like movies, I know that a particular movie can be so hyped up that when you go and see it, you're like, why? Especially with like uh, books that have been converted to movies. A lot of people like will, especially if something's really really popular, like in like a few years ago, it was Twilight. Everybody was going to see Twilight. Everybody wanted to see Twilight, and like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, and like trilogies and
Big
sequences
series.
were epic. Yeah, like it was the big thing to go see it opening night and stuff. But like that could really also kill a movie because when you go see it and it's not what you expected, especially if you read the book first, like it can just kill it dead right there.
A good example with the book adaptations. A lot of people, my dad is one of them. He says the Lord of the Rings trilogy does a good job on transitioning. Peter Jackson, that director, did a really good job. Did a fantastic job in his opinion on keeping the movie and transitioning that movie very well into the books, very well into the movie. And yes, he had to leave things out, but he told the story of Lord of the Rings through a different medium, and he did a good job translating that. Another good example where the translation didn't work out very well, and that was the Aragon movie. It was a book trilogy as well. Well, no, it was a 4-book
Mm-hmm.
series. It was a cycle. It was the Inheritance cycle, where you have this young man finds this dragon egg, and he becomes the dragon rider. And you come to find out dragon riders have been extinct for the past century or so, and the current ruler of this land is a dragon rider, and no one dares to find him, defies him. but due to, because I was super excited to see it because I loved the book series. I've read the first book a couple different times. I have or the second book a couple of times. The last two books not as much, just because life happened. But I was remember being very excited to see it. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. Then I get there and watch it, and I was sorely disappointed.
Hmm. Yeah, didn't they
I
only
als-
make like one
They
They
only made
only
one.
movie of that?
they only did one. There are some things that happened in the movie that prevented them from doing a sequel, and if they did do a sequel, it would have changed the story dramatically. And so my own hype in that case ruined my experience for the movie. Maybe because I was expecting it to copy very well to the big screen, and they follow the source material very closely in that. But then I had another friend, she watched it, she enjoyed it, and then she went and watched, then not watched, but then went and read the book, and now she doesn't like the movie.
Mm. See, I find it better to accept a movie if I have watched the movie first and then read the book, because then I can imagine the characters, I can imagine the scene and the setting a lot easier than if I'm trying to conjure it up from my own mind. And then I don't, but I have that uncanny ability to do that. Like, another example would be the Star Trek movies. Like, people people were in uproar over the first new Star Trek movie because there was a lot of inconsistencies with the actual series, and a lot. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, but in the end, something happens that is very not Vulcan, and that was a point of tension with the Star Trek community. They said that, oh, like Spock would never do that. Spock would never in a million years do that, but he does in the first revamp of the story. The one with I don't even remember their names, but it's all shiny and new and it came out a few years ago.
Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah, like Star Trek Beyond, and people had issues with those movies because they kind of really went away from what the character would have done. But it's still a popular movie franchise for people who aren't hardcore Star Trek fans, because it's a good action movie. It really is. It's just that is what it is.
And there are instances where people overhype things in the way things look. It looks awesome, everything looks great. I remember when Avengers Age of Ultron was coming out, I was like, alright, this is going to be awesome. Because of things that was going on in my personal life, I was unable to go see Avengers in the movie theater. So I'm like, sweet, this is going to be my first time seeing an Avengers film in theaters. So I was excited and happy to see it. And then I'm sitting there in the theater, and I'm like, this almost feels copy and paste of the first Avengers. I've already seen that. I want something
Right.
new. I want something different. And I was
Right, I felt that way
disappointed
too.
because that probably goes to the marketing. They made it look like it was something other than what it wasn't. And I think sometimes that affects the hype as well, is the marketing decisions that the companies make. And there's some things that you can't help, because there's some things that's not leaked out. And there are some things that are leaked out, and you can decide for yourself, yes or no. And then same thing with just personal decisions in life as well. Like, some people become excited about, hey, I'm graduating high school, college, and they look forward to graduation, and in that decision they end up missing what's in front of them. And I think that's an
Like the
important lesson to learn.
anticipation.
Like, they look so forward to be able to graduate or be able to do this, whatever it is, and then it happens, but since they're so fixated on this one thing, they missed so many other opportunities along the way. And that's not true for everybody. Other people are smart and able to live in the moment. I have a friend, she was looking forward till she was 14 because then she could do something, and then she's looking forward to when she was 15 she could get her permit, 16 she can get her actual driver's license and start doing other things, and then she can't wait till she graduated, and she was always looking forward to the next thing. She wasn't enjoying what was happening, at least what I could see. She missed a lot of things that was happening in front of her because she was looking forward to the next thing that was happening in life and not what was right in front of her.
Yeah, in psychology, we would call that the chase of age, which means it starts when you're really young. When you're in elementary school, you can't wait to get to double digits. You can't wait to get into middle school. You can't wait to be treated more like a bigger kid. And then when you're in middle school, you can't wait till you get in high school. When you're in high school, you can't wait to graduate. When you're graduated, you can't wait to go to college. And then when you're in college, you work so hard to come to this one time where you graduate college. And then after that, it's just, it's like it's a, yeah, it's exactly. It's like a race inside your head. And when you reach a position where you're, when you have self-actualization, that's when you start living in the moment and you start going, oh yeah, like I need to enjoy these moments as they come. And it happens a lot when you're older because you see people go through tragedy and you see people go through life experiences, and it makes you want to, like the life experience that I had on Friday that you guys know about, like it makes you hold your kids tighter and the people you love, and want you kind of want to live in the moment at that point instead of chasing the next thing.
So, I think there's oftentimes, as you were saying, Valentine, where we overhype things, where we fall into that psychological trap, and that's true for the games, our movies, and just life in general. We anticipate too much.
We make things out which they're not supposed to be. So you look at hype, what I thought it is, it's sort of what we end up twisting things that the developers do say, or the developers say things that aren't in the game. But I think most of the time we end up anticipating more than what it is. We expect more than what we got.
Or sometimes we're so hyped, we ignore what's being said and we ignore what's in front of us.
And
I think
just,
that sometimes.
Sorry,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead, Salt.
Nope, go ahead.
Okay. I just think sometimes that, like, especially in life, we have our eyes set on the prize so much because we're trained that way. We're trained to get goals, to achieve goals, and to move on and find the next goal. And I think it'd be good to mention, just enjoy life where you are, what you're doing, your friends, your family. Don't take anything for granted because it can all go away in just a second.
And that is true. The second can lose everything. That's why one reason I take stuff one day at a time.
With the whole hype thing, we all need those reminders that time is a resource that we all have, but we can't renew it.
Nope.
It's not something we can go back on, and you don't want to be further along in life and look back and be like, man, I really wish that I had hugged that person a little tighter. I really wish that I had just been present when I was, distracted, and, to love everybody just a little bit harder.
I guess one thing you can say about that is don't always look to the future. Just, take take your time, just, kind of go by day. Don't, keep your eyes so set on the future that you forget what's in front of you. You let everything slip away. Because it will. Time flies, especially each year. It just feels like it goes faster and faster. So you're just gonna go live every day. Take your time. Don't always set yourself on the future because, oh, you got like really big plans. You don't want to sit there and rush it to come through, and then, you miss so much.
Yeah, because as some of us receive reminders and that, I have on my phone my wallpaper as a daily reminder that, and just every time I check my phone, life is short, live it well. And so yeah, if you enjoy your video games, be mindful of your games that you want to go and look into and take the time, maybe make smarter investments in it and not just buy the game just to buy the game. Maybe decide to research it, or you decide to do the research but you're undecided and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna rent it and let me do that. Let that be my final test, because everyone's saying this and they're saying it's a bad game, but who knows it, I may be the one that actually enjoys it. So why don't I go ahead and rent it for a week, for a few days, and decide, yep, I can see me spending now the additional $45-50 on this game to enjoy it in its full and to be able to go all out and enjoy everything that this game has to offer and play it through its entire lifespan. Or nope, it's best left to stay on the shelf because, yep, I agree with what other people are saying, the communities and the critics, that this game isn't worth my time. So
I guess it's worthy of note to say, like, just find out for yourself if it's worth it. Find out for yourself and don't listen to the herd. Because a collective voice saying this is good and you might not enjoy it, well, that might shoot yourself in the foot in the end.
And vice versa.
And vice versa, other people can say this is an awesome game and then you pick it up and it's not. Or it's the same thing with movies and TV shows. I remember my parents said to watch the first episode of Stranger Things. They're like, the kids say it's good, so let's see what it's all about. They watched the first episode and they're like, you know what, this series is not for us. Let's watch something else. We can watch something else that we can enjoy.
Exactly. Like what you like, don't like what you don't like. Figure it out for yourself.
Because everyone's their own person. We all can think and figure things out. Figure you out.
Oh, and one quick thing, guys. The things we've said, this is pretty much, our opinion in terms of, overhyping or not liking something. Don't take that serious. Everyone has their own things that they enjoy. But yeah, this one, is more of our opinion on time things. So don't, think, oh, this is bad. So don't, just take our word for it. Like we were saying, what someone may not like, you may like, and vice versa. Just take it for however it is. If you enjoy it, by all means, go ahead, play it, do what you want. Some things aren't for everybody. Don't follow the same boat as someone else's. You do you.
You.
I don't
I
know,
like
famous
that.
last words.
Yep, and
You
so
do you.
thank you everyone for taking the time and listening to what we all have to say. And as always, we always invite conversation, discussion to happen below. And leave your thoughts, or if you have any experiences that you want to share about your experience of, yeah, I experienced this, of what you guys are talking about, whether it's going to the amusement park or going to a movie or whatever, and turned out to be lackluster than what you're anticipating, or just anything, let us know in the comments below of your thoughts of all that's gone down. Of, yeah, hype can ruin something, or no, hype sometimes is a good thing and it makes things better. Let us know your thoughts, your opinions, and discuss it. As always, if you like what you heard and see and want to share it with your friends, feel free to do that as well. So this is Hero Darkness.
So logic.
This is search numbers.
Valentine.
It's the salty
And as
killers
always,
entertainment.
guys.
As
And as
always.
always, guys, stay salty.